Welcome, beautiful damsels. The most powerful person in the room is often the one who says the least, but observes the most. Sigma females are the silent disruptors, the quiet forces who thrive outside the confines of traditional roles and labels. While the world is busy categorizing women into neat boxes of alpha and beta, Sigma females are busy doing something far more interesting, rewriting the rules entirely. Studies even show that independent thinkers, much like Sigma females, tend to have heightened emotional intelligence and problem-solving skills, which sounds great, until you realize the world also expects them to solve everyone else's problems too. But don't let their mysterious, self-assured exterior fool you. Being a Sigma female isn't all calm confidence and cool detachment. In fact, it comes with a unique set of challenges that can leave them navigating a world that doesn't quite know what to do with their fiercely individualistic spirit. So buckle up, because we're diving into the 10 problems only Sigma females will understand. And trust me, it's not your typical girl boss narrative. Think less glitter, more grit, and a dash of humor for survival. Number 1. Misjudged as aloof or cold. Sigma females often find themselves caught in a web of misjudgment because of their naturally reserved and self-contained nature. To the outside world, this can come across as aloofness, coldness, or even arrogance. The truth is far more complex. They're not dismissive or disinterested. They're simply selective about where they invest their energy. A Sigma female isn't the type to waste time on shallow interactions or engage in unnecessary small talk. Instead, she prefers meaningful connections. But in a society that thrives on surface-level interactions, this often works against her. What makes this even more challenging is the double standard at play. If a man is quiet and observant, people tend to view him as introspective or deep. But when a Sigma female exhibits the same traits, she's often labeled as standoffish or unapproachable. It's a frustrating dynamic that forces her to constantly prove that she's not intentionally shutting people out. It's just that she values her peace and chooses her company wisely. Ironically, this misunderstanding can create a vicious cycle. People might hesitate to approach her, assuming she's uninterested, while she, in turn, senses the distance and retreats further into her own space. The result? A loneliness that's hard to admit because she's not actually antisocial. She simply doesn't conform to the rules of engagement most people are used to. What others see as coldness is really an internal process, analyzing, observing, and carefully deciding if someone is worth letting into her world. But to get to that point, someone has to be willing to move past the surface judgments, and unfortunately, not everyone is patient or perceptive enough to do so. For the Sigma female, this constant misinterpretation is exhausting, and it only reinforces her preference to stay in her own lane. Number 2, social fatigue is their default setting. Social fatigue is a reality Sigma females know all too well, even in situations where they genuinely enjoy the company of others. The energy it takes to engage in social settings drains them faster than most people realize. It's not because they dislike being around others or lack social skills. They can be charming, witty, and engaging when they want to be. But their energy isn't infinite, and socializing tends to tap into reserves they'd much rather save for things that truly matter to them. What makes this even trickier is trying to explain it to friends or acquaintances. Saying, "I'm tired from being around people," often leads to confusion or frustration. To those who don't experience it, it might sound like an excuse, an overreaction, or even a judgment on the company itself. But for the Sigma female, it's just a fact of life. The noise, the small talk, the constant need to navigate social cues, it's all mentally and emotionally taxing. The problem isn't necessarily the people, it's the overstimulation. Sigma females crave depth and quiet. They'd rather have a meaningful one-on-one conversation than engage in a room full of chatter where nothing substantial is being said. And while they may push themselves to attend gatherings or events out of obligation or curiosity, they know there's a clock ticking in the background. At some point, they'll need to retreat, recharge, and reclaim their inner calm. This need for solitude doesn't make them difficult or weird, though it's often interpreted that way. It simply means they operate differently. Unfortunately, not everyone understands that their withdrawal isn't personal. It's a form of self-preservation. For a Sigma female, boundaries are survival tools, and knowing when to step away is one of her greatest strengths. Number 3, they're attracted to the unconventional, which is rare. For Sigma females, conventionality is uninspiring. They're drawn to the unconventional ideas, people, and experiences that defy the ordinary. This makes them seekers of depth and originality in a world that often rewards sameness. They don't just want a connection, they want one that challenges, stimulates, and expands their worldview. But here's the catch. People who match that level of uniqueness and authenticity are incredibly rare. This creates a frustrating paradox. While Sigma females thrive on independence and solitude, they still yearn for meaningful bonds with kindred spirits who understand their depth and complexity. Casual friendships or superficial relationships don't fulfill them. They crave connections with people who are as curious, introspective, and multi-layered as they are. But finding those rare individuals feels like searching for a needle in a haystack. And sometimes they wonder if the needle even exists. The problem is compounded by how selective they are. Sigma females don't settle. They're not impressed by surface-level charm or flashy personas. They look for substance, someone who shares their unconventional outlook or challenges them in ways others can't. And because their standards are so specific, they often find themselves standing apart, watching as others easily forge connections while they remain in search of something that feels real. This rarity can be both a blessing and a curse. On one hand, it ensures that the connections they do form are profoundly meaningful. On the other, the search can be lonely and disheartening. The world is full of people, but the kind of people Sigma females are drawn to, they're few and far between. Still, the Sigma female remains undeterred, holding out for the extraordinary, because for her, anything less isn't worth it. Number 4. Dismissed as too complicated. Sigma females are often dismissed as too complicated because their layered personalities don't fit into the neat categories that people expect. They're deeply introspective yet adventurous, fiercely independent yet capable of deep emotional connection, and logical while also intuitive. This complexity is their strength, but to others who prefer straightforward, predictable behavior, it can be overwhelming. Instead of trying to understand them, people often resort to labeling them as too much or too different. The Sigma female's multifaceted nature often confuses those who expect others to act in consistent, easily understood patterns. One moment she might be intensely focused on her goals, shutting out distractions, and the next she's questioning everything about her approach, driven by her endless curiosity. This fluidity makes her dynamic, but it also makes her hard to pin down. People who crave simplicity may find her exhausting or assume she's being intentionally difficult, when in reality, she's simply being herself, a person who refuses to shrink to fit societal expectations. This dismissal can leave Sigma females feeling misunderstood and isolated. They often hear phrases like, "Why can't you just relax?" or "You're making things more complicated than they need to be," as if their depth and individuality are flaws. In relationships, this can be particularly frustrating, as partners may misinterpret their need for intellectual and emotional stimulation as unnecessary drama. The truth is, Sigma females aren't too complicated. They're just unwilling to compromise their authenticity for the sake of fitting in. They see the world in shades of gray, while others cling to black and white thinking. While this can make their path lonelier at times, it also ensures that the people who stick around truly value and embrace the richness of who they are. Number 5. Success breeds jealousy, not admiration. For Sigma females, success is a personal endeavor, not a performance for others. They work in silence, driven by their own goals rather than a need for validation or applause. Yet instead of admiration, their quiet achievements often spark jealousy in others. This envy can manifest in subtle ways: cold compliments, passive-aggressive remarks, or outright dismissal of their efforts. What should feel like a moment of pride and fulfillment is often tarnished by the uncomfortable realization that their success makes people uncomfortable. Part of the issue lies in how Sigma females approach success. They don't follow the conventional playbook, nor do they broadcast their struggles or victories. They simply get things done, which makes their accomplishments seem effortless to outsiders. People don't see the sleepless nights, the sacrifices, or the internal battles. They only see the end result. And instead of drawing inspiration from it, they project their insecurities onto the Sigma female. This lack of genuine support can feel isolating, while others might have cheerleaders rallying behind them. Sigma females often navigate their journeys alone. It's not that they need constant praise, they don't, but the absence of acknowledgement from peers or loved ones can sting. They're left questioning why their success, instead of fostering connection, seems to create distance. What makes this even harder is the Sigma female's natural aversion to drama. She's unlikely to call out jealousy or confront those who undermine her. Instead, she quietly withdraws, choosing to focus on her path rather than engage in pettiness. While this keeps her above the fray, it also reinforces the loneliness that comes with being misunderstood. For a Sigma female, success isn't just about achieving her goals. It's about learning to stand strong even when her victories go uncelebrated. Number 6. Leadership without the spotlight. Sigma females embody a unique style of leadership that thrives on influence rather than authority. They don't seek to dominate a room or bask in the spotlight. In fact, the attention that comes with leadership often makes them uncomfortable. For them, leading is about guiding others quietly, solving problems efficiently, and ensuring the job gets done, not about being seen or celebrated for it. This aversion to the limelight can create a delicate balancing act. On one hand, their competence and ability to inspire others make them natural leaders. People gravitate toward their calm confidence and trust them to take charge, even when they don't explicitly ask for that role. On the other hand, the Sigma female is not one to make grand speeches or relish being the center of attention. She would much rather operate in the background, letting her work speak for itself. The challenge comes when leadership requires visibility. Whether it's presenting an idea, taking public credit, or stepping into a role that demands charisma, the Sigma female often feels conflicted. She knows her value and the importance of her contributions, but being thrust into the spotlight can feel like a violation of her carefully maintained boundaries. To her, leadership isn't about ego, it's about results. Unfortunately, the modern world often equates leadership with visibility, leaving her feeling out of place in traditional leadership roles. What sets Sigma females apart is their quiet resilience. They lead not by demanding attention, but by earning respect. Their influence is felt, not seen, and they measure success by the impact they make, not the applause they receive. For them, leadership is less about standing at the front of the room and more about ensuring the people in it are better for having followed their lead. Number 7. The fear of losing their identity in relationships. For Sigma females, relationships can feel like a delicate balancing act between connection and self-preservation. While they crave meaningful bonds, they also value their independence and identity above all else. This creates an underlying fear that investing too much in a relationship, whether romantic or social, could come at the expense of who they are. The thought of losing even a fraction of their autonomy to meet someone else's expectations can feel suffocating. Unlike others who may find comfort in merging identities with a partner or group, Sigma females resist this idea instinctively. They're not interested in becoming a we at the cost of losing their me. They've spent years cultivating their sense of self, exploring their values, and building their inner world. For them, their individuality isn't just a preference, it's a lifeline. The idea of compromising it, even in the name of love or friendship, feels like a betrayal of everything they stand for. This hesitation often leads to a careful, almost surgical approach to relationships. Sigma females are selective about who they let into their lives, analyzing whether a connection will add value or disrupt their equilibrium. They might seem distant or cautious at first, not because they lack feelings, but because they're weighing the potential cost. They need to know they can remain fully themselves without pressure to conform or shrink to fit someone else's mold. While this approach protects them, it also creates challenges. Partners or friends may misinterpret their boundaries as emotional unavailability or disinterest. But for a Sigma female, it's not about rejecting others. It's about fiercely guarding her identity. When she does fully invest in a bond, it's because she's found someone who respects her autonomy and allows her to grow without compromise. And for her, that kind of connection is the only one worth having. Number 8. Others assume they don't need help. Sigma females are often seen as pillars of strength, capable, composed, and endlessly resourceful. They tackle challenges with a quiet determination that can make even the hardest tasks look effortless. But this competence comes at a cost. People assume they don't need help. Whether it's at work, in friendships, or within their families, the Sigma female is often left to carry her burdens alone, even when she's on the brink of collapse. The problem lies in perception. Because Sigma females rarely complain or ask for assistance, people mistake their independence for invincibility. They're the ones others turn to for advice, problem-solving, or emotional support. But when the roles should reverse, the offers rarely come. It's not that people don't care, it's that they simply assume the Sigma female has it all figured out. This creates a dangerous cycle where the more capable she appears, the less likely others are to notice when she's struggling. But beneath that calm exterior, Sigma females feel the same stresses and vulnerabilities as anyone else. They just don't always show it. Admitting they need help feels foreign to them, not because of pride, but because they're so used to being the helper, not the helped. And when they finally do express their needs, they're often met with surprise or disbelief, as if their strength has disqualified them from ever needing support. This isolation can be exhausting, even for someone as self-sufficient as a Sigma female. She doesn't want to be rescued, but sometimes she just wants someone to notice that she's tired, overwhelmed, or in need of a break. What she truly craves is recognition that even the strongest people need a hand every now and then, and that asking for help doesn't make her any less capable. Number 9. At odds with conventional feminism. Sigma females often find themselves on the outside looking in when it comes to mainstream feminist movements. While they believe in equality and the empowerment of women, they don't fit neatly into the traditional narratives that define much of modern feminism. They reject the idea that there's a one-size-fits-all approach to female empowerment and often challenge the expectations placed on women by both society and the movement itself. For them, empowerment doesn't mean fitting into any particular mold or aligning with a set of prescribed ideals. It's about carving out a space where they can remain true to themselves, free from labels and limitations. Mainstream feminism tends to emphasize collective action, community, and loud declarations of strength and solidarity. Sigma females, however, are more comfortable in the background, operating independently without the need for constant affirmation or public demonstrations. Their strength doesn't lie in being part of a group. It's in their ability to navigate life on their own terms. They aren't interested in fighting for visibility if it means compromising their autonomy, and they often find themselves questioning the very idea of fitting in with any movement that doesn't respect individuality. This disconnect can leave Sigma females feeling alienated from the very causes they want to support. They see the value in standing up for women's rights, but balk at the expectation to conform to any particular image of what a feminist woman should be. For them, empowerment means the freedom to choose their own path without being tied to external pressures or groupthink. It's about rejecting the narrative that women have to behave, look, or think a certain way to be considered empowered. In a world where so many voices are clamoring for attention, Sigma females carve out their own quiet revolution, one where they can remain fiercely independent, unconfined by traditional expectations, and true to their own version of strength. They don't need the world to define them, they define themselves. Number 10. Deep conversations are hard to find. Sigma females often feel like they're playing a game of intellectual hide-and-seek, with the hiding part being far easier than the seeking. Small talk isn't just unappealing to them, it's draining. The endless cycle of trivial chatter about the weather, weekend plans, or superficial opinions feels like a waste of time when they long for something more. They crave deep, meaningful conversations that explore ideas, challenge perspectives, and delve into the nuances of human experience. But finding someone who can meet them at that level is rare, and often feels like an impossible task. The difficulty lies not in their ability to engage, but in the scarcity of individuals who can match their intellectual depth and emotional intelligence. Sigma females are thinkers by nature. They don't just skim the surface, they dig beneath it, questioning, analyzing, and seeking understanding in ways that others often don't. Most people are content with surface-level interactions, so when a Sigma female tries to initiate a deeper conversation, it's often met with blank stares, awkward silences, or a change of subject. The result is a sense of isolation that's hard to articulate. How do you explain that it's not the company you dislike, but the lack of meaningful exchange? Even when they do find someone who seems intellectually stimulating, the connection often doesn't go deep enough emotionally. Emotional intelligence is a rare commodity, and Sigma females know that true connection requires both mental stimulation and emotional resonance. Without both, even the most engaging conversation feels incomplete. This leaves them feeling as though they're constantly searching for a needle in a haystack, a person who can match their intellectual curiosity while also being able to hold space for the emotional depth they carry. For the Sigma female, the search for meaningful dialogue isn't about seeking validation. It's about finding a kindred spirit who understands that the world is more than just surface appearances. It's exhausting to keep engaging with the shallow, knowing that the conversations they yearn for are few and far between. Yet, despite the rarity, Sigma females are unyielding in their pursuit of substance. They won't settle for less, no matter how long it takes to find the right conversation partner. In the end, Sigma females aren't here to fit into anyone's box, play by the rules, or be easily understood. They live by their own terms, carving paths that are often solitary but deeply fulfilling. The world might label them as aloof, too complicated or too independent, but the truth is they are simply too rare to be pigeonholed. Their strength isn't in conforming to norms or meeting others' expectations. It's in their ability to carve out a unique space where they can be unapologetically themselves, no matter how misunderstood that may make them. For the Sigma female, it's not about seeking validation, applause, or approval. It's about being true to who they are, even when that means walking alone. They'll take the hard road if it means maintaining their integrity and embracing the complexity of their existence. Yes, they face challenges, many of them, and yes, sometimes it's lonely. But with every obstacle, they grow stronger, more resilient, and more certain of their purpose. The Sigma female may not always be celebrated, but she doesn't need the world to cheer her on. She is her own celebration. When she moves through the world, she does so with a quiet confidence that speaks volumes, a presence that doesn't need to be seen to be felt. And for those who can look beyond the surface, who can truly understand the depth of her soul, they will find someone who is fiercely loyal, profoundly insightful, and remarkably strong. The Sigma female doesn't just survive the world, she quietly redefines it. And that, in itself, is a form of power most will never fully comprehend. If you've enjoyed this deep dive into the world of Sigma females, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more unique and thought-provoking content. Hit that like button if you found something that resonated with you, and leave a comment below. Let's continue the conversation. If you know someone who could relate to this, share it with them and help spread the word. Your support means the world, and it helps us bring more exceptional content your way. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Thanks, damsels, for tuning in. See you in the next vid. Bye and stay blessed.